Good morning, Groovy Tuesday again. How are we all? Are we all good? Just wait for the all clear from Jilly. Come in and take a seat. Tuesday again. Wow. The time's just flying by. I can't believe we're sort of, where are we now? We're March. Yeah, March, middle of March already. Wow. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So hopefully you can hear me. The lovely Karen I can see down in the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to pop that mouse to one side. So let's have a look. I think we've got the all clear from Jilly. Thank you, Jilly. Jilly's in the room with you today. So if you've got any questions or you're looking for anything, then ask away. And no doubt we'll have some of the lovely design team in the room as well. So they'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got as well. How are we all doing today? What's the weather like with you? It's sort of really mixed here. 1 minute it's sort of cold and then it's windy, and then we've got lots of rain and then it's sunshine. I don't know. I just get up, get dressed, come to work. If it rains, it rains. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Ah, lovely coffee. Are we all doing okay? Are we all happy? Are we all staying home and crafting? Safe, happy and creative? That's what it's all about. Crafting. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Ah, it's nice to have your company again today. It really is. So, got lots of different things we're going to have a look at today. And I thought, because what we've done, we're on episode 7. This is week 7 already, and it's amazing to see everything that you've created, whether you're new to the Groovi system, whether you've been doing it for a long time, whether you're a traditional parcher. It's great to see how you interpret the different designs and come up with the different sort of elements. So I'm just going to check that down there. There we go. Oh, there's loads of people in the room. Loads and loads. Super duper. I better move that mouse so I don't click it by mistake. Let me just really move that out of the way. There we go. So, did you do last week's homework? Did you? Did you get carried away and carry on with it? So I thought what we're going to do today, we're going to re-hone some of the skills that we've learned on the previous episodes. So remember when we first started out, that beautiful, beautiful butterfly plate. Let me bring this in. So here we go. We've got this beautiful butterfly wreath. I mean, it's just a classic design, isn't it? And if you recall what we did, we started off, we kept it nice and simple, and we learned, because we know that we've got lots of new groovers out there, and everyone starts at different levels, and it's always about being on that bus journey and deciding on where you want to get off. So this was the finished piece that we did, didn't we, a couple of weeks back? And I said what we'd do last week, we would turn the circle into a square. And when you look at the different elements that we've got on this plate, there's so much you can do with it. So in the first group, what we did was we looked at some colouring, and I worked with the pencils on this one. And I thought today, then what we'll do is I'm going to go more to the Perga pens and concentrate on those and show you different ways of applying it. But again, if you haven't got the Perga pens, you can go with the pencils. If you've got the polychromos, you can do exactly the same as what I'm going to do, but it's just another method. So if I bring this in so you can sort of just have a bit of a recap. Do you remember down here, what we did was I introduced some colour on the front to add a little bit more definition. Okay, so again, you can see the difference, how just with a very sharp pencil, you can really sort of bring out some of the design. So for me, this plate has still got oodles and oodles of love and fun to it. Let me just pop that to one side. So last week, what we did was, this was my sort of layout, so to speak, and then we adapted it as we went along, didn't we? So what we should have ended up with, if you did your homework, was this little piece here. Okay, and what we did was we created our frame first, we put our little boxes in. See, for me, the letter boxes are great because it doesn't matter if the letters are all wonky and you haven't got to worry about getting all lined up perfectly. And then we added the double frame because I put my dots in the wrong place. So it's really great just to sort of see how you can adapt and correct any sort of mistakes that you may make. Then what we did when we was tracing out, we took this plate and we infilled our frame, didn't we? So what we did, we learned how to take the plate, move the parchment around, pick up different elements of it, have the flowers overlapping so that it didn't look too regimental. We jumped between the number 1 tool and the number 2 tool so we could do some white work. And again, the first time we did it, we did everything with the number 1 tool. So it's great just to have a play and learn, and sort of, if you think, oh, actually I'm not into the white work, then what you can do, you can just trace it out, because you get a beautiful, beautiful design even just by tracing it out. I mean, even if you go with our beautiful designer parchments, if you're not into your colouring in, it still looks just as gorgeous, and the designer parchment really does bring it to life. So where are we going to go today? I thought what we'll do, we'll have a look at the colouring in again. And as I said, for today, I'm going to look at the Perga pens and show you how you can use them with the water brushes. And I know a lot of you have got those water brushes as a result of the Shack Shack. And it was just to show another use for them. So rather than using them with water, we're going to use them dry. So if you went for 2 sets, if you had you've got the long sets and the short sets, then keep 1 set with no water in it at all, and you can use it on your parchment. So what we're going to need for today is, we've got our piece of artwork that we created last week. I'm going to use a selection of the lovely Perga colour pens, and I'm just going to stick with 3 colours to start with. So the Perga colour pens come in this fantastic tin. You've got 30 colours in the tin, all water based, all double ended. And what I mean by double ended is that they have 2 different nibs on them. And the lovely Glynis let me know that when we look at one end, you'll see that it's ribbed. And that indicates, apart from the little image on the pen as well, it indicates that that is the fine tip. Okay, so this is great for getting into really detailed areas. And it's brilliant because not only does they work on parchment, but they're fantastic for colouring in your normal craft projects as well. And then the other side, we've got that beautiful bullet nip as well for larger areas. So we're going to have a look at, we're going to use the pens. We're going to use some water brushes dry. I'm going to bring in my lovely little mix mat as well. So we're going to go with those. And what else are we going to do? We're going to do some white work as well. So we've got choices. In the starter kit, in both of them, you've got the lovely black mat, which is hard on one side. Ooh, there we go. Camera focus. No, let me move that out of the way. Obviously it doesn't like, maybe it's because it's the black on black. There we go. So it's hard on one side and then it's soft on the other side. So this is the side we're going to use for doing our white work. Then if you've got a poly bag which your plates come in, we're going to use one of these. However, if you're like me and you've been doing it for a while, you may have the Pergamano pink mat as well. So it's up to you what you want to go with. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing some white work, and all we're going to need are the 2 tools that come in the starter kits. So we've got the number 1, the number 2, the number 3 and the number 4. Okie dokie. So for ease, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on the black mat, because I know if everyone's bought the starter kit and you're still new, then it'd be the easiest way to show you how to do some more white work. And we're just going to break it down, and we're going to go nice and slowly, and we're just going to learn. And it's just all about getting that pressure. But the poly bag really does make a difference. So I'll give you a minute or so to get all the bits together that we're going to use, and I reckon that's probably all we'll probably get covered in today's hour, because you know it just absolutely flies by. So I shall have another sip of coffee. Lovely. Okay. Are we all good? Oh, I've got your bits together. We're going to go slow, so again, if you haven't got your stuff ready, then you've got time to catch up. And don't forget, you can watch this on Facebook again, and afterwards we upload it to our YouTube channel, where we've got all the previous episodes. We've got all the previous episodes of Barb's Shack Shack. That goes, I can't believe that's coming up to a year already. Totally crazy. And there's lots of beautiful and amazing tutorials on there that covers all different types of craft, from the jelly plate to the stamping to the freeway, the die cutting. So if you're always looking for some inspiration, then check out our YouTube channel and just spend an hour or so going through and having a look to see what's on there. You might find something that catches your eye. Okie dokie. Right, so let's do some white work first, shall we? Okie dokie. I'm going to have to think of some new words. So this is the piece that we've been working on, okay, and we're working on the back. And if I bring this in, let me just bring this in so we can sort of see where, when we was tracing out last week, we did it in using the different tools, didn't we? So we used the number 1 to give us that crisp white line, and then for these little dots we turned over and we used the number 2. And because the number 2's got a ball on the end of it, you can just see that, hopefully. It's a very tiny little ball on the end. What that means is that it doesn't push into the groove as far, and we can see it in a little bit more detail on here, where it's a lot fainter. And what that means is that when we do our white work, it's easier to break down. So we're going to start on the back, and we're going to go with the number 3 and the number 4 tool. And we're going to have a look at the areas first. Now what I find, if I'm going round, I know this is a square, but if I'm going to start here and I'm going to put one layer on, I need to know where to stop. So a really good tip is if you take a Groovi tab, so let me get a Groovi tab, and I'm going to pop my Groovi tab just here. So what that means is it tells me this is where I'm starting, and if I go anti-clockwise or if I go clockwise, then I know when I get to that point there, I've done one complete layer. So let's have a look. We're going to use my Groovi guard to concentrate on the area, and I'm going to start off with, I'm going to have a look on here. Let me come in on this camera so we can hopefully see it in a little bit more detail. There we go. I'll get that, try and get that into the middle of the camera as possible. Now when we're working with circular areas, I don't know if you remember, I always thought that if it's a circle, you just go round and round and round. But what can happen is that you can get a little black dot in the middle. And the little black dot will be harder to get rid of. So when we're working, let me grab a piece of paper. All my paper's disappeared. That's because I've tied it up. Okay, let me get a piece of card just to show you. So if I take a pen, and this is my dot that I've embossed. Okay, I'm going really big so it's sort of a little bit obvious for you to see. So let me move that out of the way. What we don't want to do, the pen is now the embossing tool. What we don't want to do is keep going round and round and round and round and round and round and round. See, with a pen, it will go into the middle and it will fill it up. But if you're using an embossing tool, it doesn't, because it stays away from that center area. So the idea is, if you're doing a circular piece, is you go up and down very lightly. Let me come over onto the overhead. So we go up and down, and then we go left and right. And what that does is it creates that dot in the middle. It infills that space already. And then we can go round and round and round and round and round. That nursery rhyme's just come into my head. I bet you're saying the same, aren't you? round and round the garden. So up and down, left and right, and then round and round and round. So this is the technique we're going to use just to do our circle area. So it's up and down, left and right, and round and round and round. Okay, so let's have a go with that. I'll pop that to one side. Now, I've got the poly bag underneath, and what that's doing, that's just giving me an extra layer of protection. For me, the Groovi system, the Groovi plates are my safety net when I'm tracing out the design. So I haven't got to worry about going on too hard or not going on hard enough to get that crisp white line. Now, when you come to do white work, for me personally, because I am heavy-handed, I need to have that safety net. So whether it be a poly bag on the black mat or my pink mat, that for me, I mean, I'm not saying you can't go through it, because you can. If you really put the pressure on, you're going to go through it regardless of what safety net you've got underneath. But it just helps. And if you're learning, then it's a really good, I mean, a bit of plastic, it's a really good way of just sort of learning how to do that. So here we go. We're going to have a look at these areas here, and I'm using my Groovi card, and all it's doing is it's just highlighting the area in which I want to work. So it's that same process. I'm using the number 3 tool, is up and down, left and right, round and round. And we can see straight away, I'm not putting that much pressure on, but it's just, we just want to put like an undercoat on it. So it's up and down, left and right, round and round. And then we're going to have a look where else we're going to do that. So we've got another one here, up and down, left and right, round and round. And we're going to work our way round until we've put a base layer down. Now this one here is a bigger circle. So I'm going to go to the number 4 tool and repeat that process. So up and down, left and right, round and round. Now what I should have said when I was tracing out with the pen is that we stay within the circle. I was over exaggerating, so you don't go outside of your circle, you just stay within your circle. Otherwise you'll have little circles and crosses. So there we go, so we've got that one there. Let me just, the Groovi tab, I'm going to turn my Groovi tab around so it doesn't keep sticking to the mat, but at least I know this is where I've started. So we're going to have a look at where else. So it's up and down, left and right, round and round. And it's just a very, very light coat. And then when we get to the smaller ones, we're going to go back to number 3, left and right, round and round, up and down. And you sort of get into a habit. It's sort of, it becomes like a rhyme in your head. Up and down, left and right, round and round. Up and down, left and right, round and round. I'm going to switch to the larger ball tool. So number 4, up and down, left and right, round and round. And we're going to repeat this. Now some people will have lots of areas where they need to do this, and some people only have a few. Now if I remember rightly, on these leaves I did these in the number 2 tool, so we'd get a softer line. So for me the ball tool is a little bit big for that area because I can't see where I'm going. So I'm going to turn over to the number 3 tool, and this time all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up and down the length of the leaf. Just gentle pressure. Now if you don't want to go on to your masterpiece, remember we've always got these pieces that we practice on. So you can always have a bit of a warm up and give it a go on your practice piece first if you wish to. So we're going to work our way around. We've got some more here. Up and down, left and right, round and round. I can go all the way around until we've got our first layer. See, once you sort of relax into it and you don't think about it, it becomes, it sort of, I don't know, it's nice to see how you can take a piece of parchment and you can change the look of it with just a little bit of pressure using the tool. See, now for me, this one looks like a little face. There's his little nose, and we've got two little eyes. Maybe I need to lay off the coffee a bit. I'm going to go to the number 3 tool, and you'll get used to knowing what tool, which end you need to use to fit within your circle. Okay. And then we've got some more along here. So they're not dodgy circles, they were some of the little leaves that we took from the plate. And then finally, oh look, see, I've got my Groovi tab, so I know this is going to be my first layer of white work. So we're going to repeat that process up and down, left and right. And for me, learning white work, doing small areas like this is a good way to get comfortable, to learn how much pressure you need to put on the parchment. Okay. So we've done our complete frame now. So that has got one layer of white work where I want to put the white work. And with white work, it is one of those things, the longer you leave it in between the layers, the whiter it becomes. It's really weird. It's as if you're really stressing out the parchment, and then it just needs to calm down. And then the longer you leave it to calm down, then when you go back in, the whiter it becomes. When you look at some of the masterpieces that the likes of Linda, Tina, Josie, all the experts out there, they can do several layers, and it looks absolutely stunning. And it's all about having that patience, and sometimes it's good to have a couple of pieces on the go at once. So for example, this piece we're working on here, if you wanted to replicate that, then what I would do is I would do all my tracing out first, pop that to one side, trace out another one, pop that to one side. So if you say you was doing a batch of say 4 or 5 cards to give to somebody, then once you've traced them all out, you could do one level of white work, pop that in a folder, move on to the next one, do one level of white work, pop that in the folder. And by the time you've gone all the way around it and you've done say your batch of 4 or 5 cards, go back and start again, or go back and leave it overnight. So we're just going to add some little white bits to the lovely little pattern on the butterflies. Oh, talking of butterflies, those butterflies that you're creating in the shack with Barb, absolutely gorgeous. It's just magical to see. See, that's another, the water brushes and the stencil card and the pergolina pencils, crazy. And they're absolutely gorgeous. Can't wait until tomorrow's episode. It's going to be real fun. So I'm just going to go along now and just put one layer of white work on the pattern on the butterflies. How are you getting on? We all okay? Good. It's weird not. See, if we was at a retail show, then it'd be great because you'd get feedback, you'd hear what people are saying, and you give them the toy and say, go on, have a go. And you get that instant gratification because you see the look on people's faces on when they realise that they can just trace out a beautiful design really easily. So I'm just going to carry on with this one layer. Nice and gently does it. So we've got a really big one here. So up and down, left and right, round and round. Going to go back to number 3 tool. And it is all about just taking your time. Going nice and slowly. There we go. So I think I've got my butterfly covered. I've done, oh, I've missed those ones. How did I miss that? Let me just go in. See, sometimes it's obvious, but as you start to build up your layers, it can be a little bit difficult. So that's why it's always a good idea to have your Groovi tab so you know where you've started. So, dare I say it, have you done all your white bits? Have you got one layer done already? Oh, lovely. Okay. It's amazing, just even with that one layer, how it already starts to define the look of it. And if you remember when we started off, when we did it, and we did it with the number 1 tool back in the day, we had a really sort of harsh, crisp white line around it, and which it works depending on how you want your finished card to look. But if you want that more sort of soft and natural look to it, then tracing out with the number 2 or even the number 3 tool will give you that softer line, and it will give you more of a natural look, especially when you're looking at sort of like flowers, like beautiful roses, like the gorgeous Jane Nesterenko roses and dahlias. And when you look at when the design team, like Frances, traditional parching, and she doesn't even trace out the line art, she does it she takes the plate as a traditional pattern and just traces it out, and it looks as if you could pick that rose off of the parchment. It's crazy how you can sort of, just by changing the way, one little thing, the difference it can make. And obviously it's a confidence thing as well, isn't it? And for me, as I've always said it, and I'll always say it, the Groovi system gives me that confidence. And because I'm confident that I'm going to get that crisp white line every single time, which I know everyone at home, you're finding that as well. You're finding how easy it is to take a design, trace it out, and if you make a mistake, it's a bit of parchment. It really is. And it's just for me, it's the beauty of the whiteness, that crisp white line, whether we're using the clear parchment like we are here, or whether you use the designer parchment. As long as you're on the right side of the designer or the coloured parchment, you'll always get that beautiful crisp white line. Okie dokie. Should we start doing another second layer? So we'll come in on here. We know we're going to start in this corner again. So I'm going to stick with the same size ball tools that we did the first time, and then we're going to go back in and just go over exactly where we've just been. So it's all about sort of just building it up until you're confident that you've got that beautiful crisp white line. And you get the softness. Now I can see automatically now how it's starting to become whiter. If I leave it for an hour, when I go in with my second one, it'll be even whiter. It's all about that, letting it relax in between the layers. See, I'm going up and down, I'm going left and right, I'm going in a circular motion, and what it's doing, let me turn that over so you can sort of see. So we can see now, hopefully you can see how it's starting to sort of fade the lines. It's harder to see now, the line around the outside that we traced out. Okay, so we're going to carry on all the way around, and it's just alternating between the two different size tools. And then it's just a case of just building it up as we go along. So what news have I got to tell you this week? Let me see. So tomorrow you're back in the shack with Barb, and I believe you're carrying on with those gorgeous butterflies. Isn't it funny how butterflies all of a sudden have, maybe it's sort of the brighter days It's sort of real nice sort of theme to work with. So you've got the lovely butterflies. So you've got In the Shack with Barb tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So that's Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we've got the Pergamano show. All I'm going to say is ooh la la. Some beautiful designs from Linda Williams. And I know Barb's got some amazing demos lined up for you. Knickers and bra, that's all I'm going to say. Knickers and bra. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Some of you may already have them. But for those, we know there's a lot of new people out there that may not have seen them before. But they're just absolutely gorgeous. So that's on Thursday. So that's Pergamano shows on Hochanda at 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Then Friday, it's back in the Shack with Barb at 10. And then at 3 o'clock on Facebook Live, it's another moment of clarity. My word, are you loving those new reflection masks? Poor Leanne and Lisa can't keep up with them. Absolutely crazy, and that's going to be a really, it's amazing what you can do with a mask. And I'm not about a mask in crafting, not a mask that you wear on your face, but absolutely gorgeous. So that's what we've got coming up this week. What else is there? How are you getting on? All right? All right, he says. Just putting another layer on. See, sometimes I get carried away when I'm talking, and that's another good reason to have the Groovi guard, because it helps focus the area in which I'm working. I'm going to go along and just follow through with our elements, and then look, we're back to the beginning. And can you see the difference between the two? Let me hold that up. Whee, there we go, so sliding it around. So we can see here, this is where we've done our second layer on those two there. And then this one has still got the first layer. So it's just about just building it up really, really slowly. So we're going to put another layer on this little set here. Okay. Easy does it. And it really, the plastic bag underneath really does make a difference with applying the pressure. I mean, I can go to real extremes and show you that you can go through it. This, remember my practice piece? See, for example, if I go on here and I go on really heavy, it will turn it white quicker, but when I turn it over, it's all bubbly and it doesn't look very nice on the front. It's all about getting sort of a nice even. Again, I can go on really heavy. I'm trying to go through the parchment. See, if you keep going on, you're just going to stress out. There we go, I've just cracked it. Parchment is now cracked. So you can, there we go, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, there we go. There we go. Got a nice hole in my leaf. Excuse me. So you can, by putting too much pressure on, go through it. I mean, it's actually left like, look, a dent in my mat. So if you find that you're getting little dents in your mat, then you know that you're definitely going on way too heavy. Okay, did I finish that one off? Let's just go back. I can't remember whether I got sidetracked or not. So we're just going to carry on and just do a little bit there. Oh, forgot the butterfly. So we've got to go back on to the butterfly as well. And again, just jump between the different size tools. And you get used to which end of the tool to use. And it's very, very, this really is achievable. It's just about sort of just taking your time and just going with the flow. See? And the smaller the area, the easier it is to make it white. So we're going to work our way around, and it looks as if I'm going round and round, but I am actually going up and down. It's just automatic when you're doing it. You don't even think about what you're doing once you sort of get into the rhythm. And because it's such a small area, it's not as sort of like up and down, left and right, round and round. So, see, and then as we've come to the larger areas, it is a little bit more obvious now that I'm going up and down, left and right. So this one I'm going to go to the different sides. See, there we go. It's a lot more obvious now, isn't it? Up and down, left and right, round and round. Okie dokie. So now when we turn that over, we can start to see, whoops, cameras, how it's now starting to become more white. How are we doing? Wow, past already. Really? Oh dear. These hours, they're just absolutely fun. You get in your head, right, we need to do this, we need to do that, and it's just like a TV show. You know what you want to show, and the time just absolutely flies by, and before you sort of like, you blink and the hour's gone. But we will persevere, and we're going to do I'm going to show you some colouring in, so that next week what we can do, hang on, now for coffee. So we're sort of going to build this up into stages. So we will do some colouring in a minute. I want to put one more layer. I'm just going to let it rest for a little bit while we're talking. And we're going to add some colour, and I'll show you the different methods. If you missed out on the colouring from the previous week when we covered it, then I'll go back over it and I'll show the different finishes that you'll get from using the pencils or the pens. But I found that using those water brushes, it's crazy how easy it is to get a really beautiful blend, and you can build up the colour tones as well, just like you can with the pencils. So we're going to do another layer of white work, then we're going to have a look at some colouring, and then I reckon for during the course of the week you can carry on and you can do a little bit more white work if you choose to, or you can think, no, that's it, don't want to do any more white work. That's fine. I'm not saying you've got to do it, it's just giving you options. And then we can colour it in, and then we can finish it off. So during the course of the week you can finish colouring in, and then you can mount it. So we looked at previous different ways of mounting it by using the corner punches, we used the brads, we used the wraparound, we used an aperture. Back in the day, one thing I didn't cover was back in the day, the way in which parchment was attached was it was sewn on. So you could actually sew, if you've got one of those, you can get those little pocket sewing machines, can't you? And you could just run a sewing machine around it and attach it, or you could put it on the spine and do it down the spine of the card. There's crazy silly how many different ways you can attach it to give it a different look. Right, I reckon that's rested enough. Are you rested enough? Have you said, oh, I don't want to do anymore? I'm going to do one more layer of white work, and then we'll do some colouring in. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this camera. Okie dokie. That's, so I've got my Groovi tab here to know where I need to start again. I'm going to take my, now this time, am I going to be brave? I'm going to jump down now to the number 2 tool. And I'm going to go in, and the number 2 tool will make it even whiter. Okay. So again, practice, take a piece. If you're not sure and you think, is the 2 too fine for me? Am I going to go through? Obviously, the smaller the tool, the more chance you're going to have for going through. Okay. Now, I can see straight away that there's a difference between that one and that one. Let me see if I can just hold that up so you can sort of see. And we're looking on the back. Now for this one, because I was using the number 4 previously, I'm going to use the number 3. Okay, there we go, and that's broken it down really, really nice. Then we're going to go along. So again, this one, I'm going to go with the number 3 because we was using the number 4 before. 4 before. And then we're going to go around. So again, the number 2, just to get that little bit more. It just stretches it that little bit further and really makes it pop. There we go. And you can go left to right, up and down. Whether, I don't know whether that's right, it's what I do, and I find that it works for me. Now this one we're going to go with the number 3 tool again, because we was using the number 4 before. 4 before, that sounds like that nursery, not as the arc, doesn't it? 2 by 2, 4 before. Or is that woodwork? I don't know. What am I talking about? The Ramblings of a Parcher. Do you reckon that'd make a good film? The Ramblings of a Parcher. I'm sure there's definitely plenty out there that could fill that in. And we're just going to go in. Okay. And what you'll notice, I'm trying to keep it easy for the camera as well, is that I'm actually turning my parchment underneath, so I'm trying to keep in the same area. And also, my hand is really comfortable in the position in which I'm working. And that's what it's all about. It's making it as comfortable and as easy as you want for yourself. So then we're going to go to the other tool, number 3. And we're going to go all the way around. And it's all about just getting that confidence, but just breaking it down gently, gently. Then to the number 2 tool. And it's amazing that the number 2 tool, how it really does make a difference. Slide it around. Ooh, there we go. How are you getting on? You haven't gone through your parchment, have you? No, of course you haven't. Nice and easy. Gently, gently. So it's all about, we're nearly at the end of this one. And then we've just got to add that little sprig there. So again, it's all about the layers. The more layers you do, the whiter it becomes. And when you get it, it's like the picot cutting. When you do the picot cutting and you finally get it, and you think, wow, I did that. And it may not be perfect, but if you get the effect that you're after and you're happy with what you've done, then that's the main thing, isn't it? So then we're going to go in. Just got the butterfly wings to do now. And just slowly, it really is. Slowly, slowly. Love it. Especially when it works. Oh, I've got the little bits on the end of his little aerial parts. His antennae. Antennae? You know what I mean. And then all the way down. And then the smaller it gets, the quicker. I'm not saying it's a rush. But you go. Yes. And then to the bottom of this wing, and I'm still sticking with the number 2 tool, and it's all about building up that crisp white work. And then obviously when we put colour behind it, it's going to stand out even more, because we're just using the clear parchment. And it's really important, not important, but it can really make a difference, as you saw from the card that I showed at the beginning. Remember when we did our first piece and I went with the gorgeous Indian Summer paper, and it really did, for me, the designer papers really enhance my work, and it doesn't make it look as flat as what it could do. That makes sense? Yeah. There we go. Slowly, slowly. And then we turn that over. Yeah, you can really see that, can't you? So for me personally, I'd probably put another couple of layers of white work on there. But because we want to do some colouring in now, it's up to you. You can carry on doing your white work, or you can join me and doing some colouring. Now again, we can use the pencils, we can use the pens. I'll give you a few minutes just to catch up, and I wanted to show you something. You know, we were talking about, let me bring in this lovely piece. Where's it gone? Where's my card gone? There we go. So this was the piece that we created the other week, wasn't it? And for me, the designer paper really, it puts that really soft, muted colour tone in the background. So we've got loads and loads of different pads. We've got Indian Summer, Northern Lights, Shenandoah, Rainbow River. It goes on and on and on. But if you think, oh, I really don't want to invest in 48 sheets of one particular thing, then what we've got is we've got Barb's favourites. Now, when Barb's creating all of her beautiful designer papers, there's always one or two in a set, and she says, oh, I'm going to use that one again and again and again. So this was the original, this was one of the first papers designed, the Indian Summer collection. So in there, you get 2 different designs in each pack, single-sided, and you get 5 sheets of each. So we've got the Indian Summer, see look, very similar to what we use behind that butterfly. Okay, so we've got Indian Summer. Then we've got the beautiful, I think this is one of my favourite ones, the beautiful Waimea Falls. So again, you've got a really, look at that, the colours on that. So you've got a really nice soft. So again, perfect for stamping onto, but for me, the designer papers are great for putting behind your parchment work. So then we've got the Waimea Falls. There, oh, I don't know, this one's, oh, I like the colours in this one. Look at this one. This is so clever. You've got this sort of like a little lake in the background. You've got the little foxgloves coming out in the background. And then you've got a softer colour palette as well. Okay, so where's my work gone? So you can sort of just see what it looks like on top. Imagine having that butterfly just flying in the meadow. So that's the gorgeous Toscana. Then we've got the Antarctica, really nice and icy. This for me is quite fresh and bright. But again, when you take my work and you pop that on there and you move it around, you see, and it's amazing. Just by moving it around on one piece of paper, the different looks that you can get. So that's the gorgeous Antarctica. And then we have the lovely Amazonia. So again, you've got those beautiful colorways. You've got the sort of more softer tone, or you've got the more, I mean, look at that. That looks absolutely gorgeous. See, again, if you don't want to add any color, then you don't have to. Now, if you like all of those, we've got obviously all those available on the website, but then we've got the Shack Pack. So the Shack Pack is where you get a pack of each of those in there, and each of them, you've got 5 sheets in each set. You've got 2 different designs, 5 sheets of each, and they're all single-sided. But you've got Barb's favourites, 50 sheets in there, and I think it's at a really silly price of something like £10. And if you're a club member, then obviously you get discounts as well. So if you think, there, 50 sheets, that's really good value to have a play with, sort of working with your parchments. And you've got all those different colorways in there as well. So I just wanted to show you that, just for some little finishing tricks, really. Okay. So have you caught up with your white work? Are we ready to get colouring? Okie dokie. That's obviously my word today. Okie dokie is today's word. No idea where that's come from today, but we shall go with it. Working on the back, easiest way to apply the colour, and it's more forgiving. Okay. So Groovy Tuesday, let's have a little bit of a play. If we go with the way that I've always gone in the past, when we go with our wax-based pencils, let me just take green, for example. Yeah, let's just go with a green. So I'm using the B pencils that come in the pergoliners, and the B have got the white writing on, and they are a basic pencil, or a B for blending, and they're like the polychromos. So I know a lot of you at home have got the polychromos as well. But it's a real great way of sort of getting started with your colouring, because you've got 16 of the wax-based pencils, and then you've got 20 of the watercolour pencils. And a lot of you lovely people at home, oh, so common, being brought up in South London, you see, at home, have got the lovely pergoliner pencils, and you've been using those in the shack on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday with Barb, with those beautiful watercolour butterflies. So if we wanted to add some colour using the pencils, and let's see, I'm going to go with something really simple, and let's find a leaf. And I'm just going to gently apply the colour to the back. Okay, now I'm not putting the pressure on, I'm just going on very, very lightly. And let's do another one here. So I'm just going to swirl around in a circular motion, because I don't need to give it complete coverage. It's all about just putting some of the pigment from the pencil down in place. And I might as well do this one off so that ties in with those. So the same sort of pressure I'm using to apply the colour is the same sort of pressure I would use if I'm doing the white work. And what we're going to do, we would then take our Dorso oil. Got my sponge is well used. I'm going to put some Dorso oil on there. But then I'm going to grab a nib. I'm going to go for a clean nib. Oops, he says, trying to find one in his pot. There we go. I really wanted to sort of concentrate on the pens, but I just wanted to show you these really quickly for those of you that have got a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of Dorso oil. If you've got too much, then what will happen is it will just move the colour around and it will just take it off. But just by going in a light circular motion, what it does is it just breaks the pigment down. See, and it sounds scratchy, but I'm not putting much pressure on. I'm really not. It's the same sort of pressure as I say with doing the white work. And what it does is it just breaks that pigment down and turns the pencil, for me, into a pen. And you get a really nice coverage of colour. Okay. So we pop that down. So if I turn that over, let me take a piece of that beautiful design paper. Let me go with the Indian Summer, because it's the same sort of colour tones. So when I pop that behind now, you can see how I've got a really nice coverage. Okay. So that was just a quick, we did some more pencil work in one of the previous episodes, but I just wanted to really show off the pens and what you can do with them. So let me pop that to one side. So I'm going to go with 3 of the different colourways. So I've got a green, a red and a yellow. You can go with whatever colour you want to. It's entirely up to you. So I've got my mix mat, and this is one that says for water. You've got one for oil and one for water. And all I'm going to do is scribble out some colour onto my mix mats. I've got some, need to look at the nibs. We've got some red, some yellow, and we'll do a little bit of green as well. Okay. So, water brushes. These are the longer barreled ones. You've got them in longer barrels and you've got them in shorter barrels. So they're both going to work for exactly the same job. And if I take the caps off, you can see how you've got 3 different nibs. You've got a really fine, you've got a medium, and then you've got a thicker nib as well. I'm going to bring it on that camera so you can see the difference between the different thicknesses of the nibs. So if you want to get into really tight areas, then I would go with the fine. I mean, they've all got fine tips on them, and it's just, you mix and match. It's what you feel comfortable with. And all we're going to do is, see, this is magic. These have never had water in them, and I'll never put water in them. If I'm going to keep them for my perga colours, then I'm not going to use them. Okay. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up, say, some of the yellow onto my brush. And let's have a look. I'm going to start to build up my butterfly wings. So let me pop that. There we go. Let me pop that there. And I'm now going to go on. And this is, it's just so magical. It really is. Now, one thing I have found is that by doing this technique, it stays wet. Okay. If I was to go straight on with the pen, once it's on there, it's on there. But using this, what it does, it's really weird. I can't explain or understand why it does it. It's very, very strange isn't the right word to do. I suppose it's like a, what's that word? A phenomenon? One of those. But it is so weird that it stays wet longer when you use the brush to apply the colour to the back of the parchment, as opposed to going direct on with the pen. Okay. Now if I bring this in now, but you get a beautiful, beautiful soft tone of that colour. You can see where I've just applied the colour just to those 2 areas there. Now if I take that same pen and I go to my practice piece, okay, so again, good, always good to have this practice piece. Now if I go direct, I'm going to do it on this leaf here. I'm going to get a real intense colour. Let me just show the comparison. If I take this one, I don't know, there's got to be some reason why it stays wet longer when I use the water brushes. And there's no water in these water brushes at all. They're completely dry. Weird. It really is weird. So now when I turn that over, you can see this is where I've gone direct with the pen, but I've got a beautiful soft hue on this one here. Now if I take a tissue, I just want to prove my point to you, just to show. If I take a piece of kitchen towel, okay, and I blot, and I turn that over, that's where I've used the brush, but the bit next to it, it hasn't moved at all. So that is on there permanently. It's strange. It really is. But what I find by using this method with the pen, with the water brush, is that now I can go in and I can pick up a little bit of that red. I can even mix it with the yellow if I want to. And then I can just add a little bit of colour to change the tone. See, and then up a little bit more. Maybe a bit too much there. But you know what? If I've gone on too much with it, what can I do? I can take my kitchen towel and I can lift it off. It's mad. It really, really is. But it's a real... I also found that in order... you need to let this dry probably for about 10 minutes or so. That's why I wanted to do the white work first, so that I could go in and put the colour in. Okay, and I can go in. So it takes about 10 minutes to dry, because if I'd started to do the colour and then I wanted to go back in with the white work, then if I lean on it, I'm going to lift that colour off. But it's so... see if I mix those colours together now. It is just really weird, but you can get some beautiful, beautiful colour tones with it, and you just slowly build up. And because you've got such a fine tip with that, you can really get into the detailed areas. See, so if I bring that in now, we can see, well, if I hold it right, see how we've got that really nice soft colour tone to it. I just think it's just so magical. It really, really is. And I just like, the only thing for me is the drying time. But you know what? If I can be patient with the white work, then I can be patient with the colouring in. See? Gorgeous. Really, really love this technique. And it was a fluke. It really was. I just thought, I wonder if you could use... I mean, I knew I wouldn't be able to use the water brushes wet because Parchment doesn't like moisture. So I thought I'll give it a go. And at the end of the day, if you practice on that piece that we've been practicing on, and if it worked, it worked. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's all about just sometimes having that little bit of confidence just to explore and see what you come up with. Now, next week, we're going to step it up a little bit further. Okay. So during the course of the week, have fun with your colouring in. But I thought what we'd do, we'd have a look at the basic grids. Okay. So, amazingly, they come in two sizes. So we've got the A5 square grids. These are your basics. So we've got diagonal and straight. Okay, so these are the A5 square. And for those of you that have got the little baby mini starter kit, look, they come in diddy little A5 square as well, A6 square. So the choice is yours. Even if you've got the larger starter kit, these will fit into the normal starter kit with the adapter plate. So I thought next week what we'd do, we'll have a look at how we can use these in different ways. They're piercing grids, but they're also embossing grids. And when I first started out looking at these grids, when we first introduced them, for me, it was the embossing of the dots. Absolutely. They're just so clever. They really are, considering it's a piece of acrylic with thousands of drilled dots in them. Let me bring it in so you can see. The holes go all the way through, and there's thousands of them in there. It really is. But they are so useful and they're so universal. So I thought what we would do next week is we're still going to stick with the butterflies and the beautiful plates from the starter kit. And I thought we'd just add that little bit extra by having a look at the grids. Okay. And I thought what we could do is we will head towards making a little coaster. So you get 4 in a pack. And I know a lot of people struggle to open these, so I thought what we'll do, we'll take it through and we'll start a new project next week. If you've got the grids, fantastic. If you haven't, you can still do exactly what we're going to do, apart from you'll just not do the grid part of it. And it will still look gorgeous because it's the artwork and it's you that's creating it. So I hope you've enjoyed today and you've learned maybe something a little bit new. For me, really give those watercolour brushes a go with the colour. It really does. But just remember, don't lean on it while you're working because you'll have it on your hands. It'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to dry, and depending on the temperature in your room. But give it a go. Just trace out a butterfly on a scrap piece and practice, and you may think, not for me, but maybe it is. And as they say, if you don't try, you don't know. So I hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you for joining me again. Don't forget, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Barb's back in the shack with the beautiful, beautiful watercolour butterflies. Couldn't think of the word there. What have we been working with? Butterflies. And I'll be in the room keeping you company as well. So if you have any questions tomorrow, just ask away. So stay home and craft, safe, happy and creative. Thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you again next week. See you later. Bye-bye. And